Hello and welcome, my fellow mad scientists. And for today's lesson, we have an anatomy question. Today's question reads, all of the following are exocrine glands except A, digestive glands, B, sebaceous glands, C, sudoriferous glands, D, mucus glands, or E, all of these are exocrine glands. Now, as usual, go ahead and pause the video here and see if you can determine the answer on your own. Of course, the most important part is, can you explain why you've chosen that answer with a high amount of confidence? And let's assume that if this was a real exam, would you feel confident that you had chosen the correct answer with 100% accuracy? That's what we want to see. So let's go ahead and approach this question. There is not a lot of information given right off the bat. Really, the only thing we have to go off of is that we are looking at exocrine glands. So the first thing that should really spring to mind is, what are exocrine glands and what kind of glands are we comparing these to? So you might be familiar with the two categories being exocrine glands and endocrine glands, right? So exocrine and endocrine. Now, one of the most common things that we hear is that exocrine glands use a duct to secrete their secretions or their products, while endocrine glands are what we consider ductless. Now, me personally, I've always kind of looked at this and gone, yeah, but I don't know which of these have a duct or don't have a duct. So that's not really useful information when solving one of these questions. So the more important information that you should actually be memorizing so you can approach something like this is that an exocrine gland is going to be secreting its products or substances onto a surface. That is the key thing there, where your endocrine glands are going to be secreting their products into the bloodstream, right? Into the blood or into the bloodstream directly. Those are the key components that you need to approach something like this. Exocrine onto a surface, endocrine into the bloodstream. Now, with just that information alone, we can easily begin analyzing these questions and determining the correct answer. So, digestive glands, you might think, okay, these are going to be present in the stomach, right? And they're going to be secreting some type of digestive enzyme, right, onto the surface of the stomach, right? Onto the surface lining. That right there is going to be exocrine. Let's go over to sebaceous glands. Sebaceous glands are oil glands that we find in the skin. And again, they are secreting onto the surface of the skin. So we see here sebaceous, exocrine gland, sudoriferous glands. Those are our sweat glands. Once again, onto the surface of the skin, exocrine gland, and mucus gland, whether you're thinking in the nose or again in the stomach. They're either secreting their mucus onto the surface of the mucous membrane inside the nose, or their mucus onto the surface of the stomach lining to protect the stomach against the stomach acid. So, exocrine gland. So, when we come to the end of this question, we see, okay, all of the following are exocrine glands except, well, there is no except. We see the answer is E. All of these are definitely exocrine glands. Now, let's say you see a question similar to this, but there's some switches in the information. Maybe someone says, thyroid gland. Okay, the thyroid gland is going to be releasing its product, hormones, into the blood, right? Into the blood there. And that tells us that thyroid is endocrine. Maybe there's going to be pituitary gland. Pituitary, there we go, right? And pituitary gland is also releasing its hormones directly into the bloodstream. So that is another example of endocrine. Or one more, maybe we're thinking about the salivary glands that are in the mouth. Now, the salivary glands are releasing their products, saliva, onto the surface of the mucosal lining in the mouth. So this is going to be exocrine gland. So you can really see how to begin approaching these questions effectively by simply understanding that exocrine glands secrete onto a surface, commonly called an epithelial surface, where endocrine glands are secreting into the bloodstream. And whenever you're approached with any glandular question, you can really start to evaluate it as one or the other to find your right answer. And if you were asked which of these glands has a duct or which of these glands is ductless, you could then use this to determine whether the gland is exocrine or endocrine, and from there connect that each of these are going to have a duct, where something like the thyroid gland would be ductless. A lot of ways you can approach something like this. So, all right, that's it for today's lesson. As always, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe so that I can afford to purchase catnip for my cat. That's right, I said it. So if you have any questions about today's lesson, or if you have any practice questions that you are particularly struggling with, go ahead and post those down in the comments below. Remember, the most important question to be asking yourself is, what is this question trying to teach me? And what is the information I'm supposed to take away? So I feel we've covered that well. If you're interested in more videos like this, be sure to check out one of the playlists you can see linked above or similar videos. And I'll see you in the next lesson.